it's McVay's worst performance ever as a head coach. But continue.
Yeah. So, and McVay, when you run off naming all the Bears players, please don't forget Eddie Goldman again. This is their second road game, though, in a row. You know, the Eagles' second road game, and they're about to experience some amazing athletes on the Rams, some pissed off ones from the embarrassment. The Eagles just lost Corey Clement, who was their last running back to play in last year's Super Bowl before losing Jay Ajayi way earlier in October, like October 6th or something. So this is a different team. And now they just announced today that Carson Wentz is out. So they're going back to Nick Foles. You know what happened last year? The Carson Wentz got hurt at the Rams last year, scoring that touchdown, and Nick Foles came in and they won that game. So that just gives the Rams another reason to destroy this team. This is a complete revenge spot for them, right? From last year. The Rams are top 3 in offense in both points and yards per game with a very disruptive type defense, right? Their secondary played lights out against the Bears last week. Let's face it. They jumped some routes. They played great. Aqib Talib is back. He's back at corner. Being that the Eagles are a bottom 5 rushing team this year, and Carson Wentz, he's out. He doesn't even run the ball anymore. I don't know what that means about his knee. I don't even see how this is going to be a game. I laid the points with the Rams -9, gave it out to members. That thing's up to 12.5 now. And I'll tell you right now, I would not necessarily be shy to lay it at 12.5 all the way up to 14 points. I think the Rams destroy the Philadelphia Eagles this week in a revenge spot, in a get-up spot. That's the play.
Yeah, I like it. I can't disagree with you at all. Rams are 5-6-2 against the spread, right? And I think that's just the amount of the respect that they get from the boys in Vegas about being that good. They're 11-2, but last week, look, if it wasn't for last week, you're 1,000%. I love this pick because if it wasn't for last week against getting their pants pulled down and spanked by the Bears, this would be a 14, 15, 16.5 spread coming into the game. So thank everybody. Tweet the Bears if you're on Twitter and say thank you very much for doing this because I'm going to win some money on the Rams. I like it a lot. I looked at it, but I didn't want to pull the trigger, and so I don't have that game this week, but I absolutely love it. I think I might end up ultimately taking it.
Nice, man. Who you got next?
All right, cool. So Houston is going to New York, not to play the Giants, but they are playing the Jets on not Sunday, but Saturday afternoon. Okay, look, Houston was the hottest team in the NFL, winning 9 in a row until they lost against the Colts last week, right? So in that winning streak, I went back and I started looking at it, reviewing their games, seeing what they were doing. Did they beat anybody at the cream of the crop? Not really. But the fact is they won the games, and that's all that matters. Ultimately, that's all that matters. They won the games, okay, that they should have. The defense is playing really well. J.J. Watts is playing back to a Pro Bowl level after being hurt so many years in a row. Look, this team, they're playing for first place in the division. It's not sewn up yet. You know, their focus is getting into the playoffs, winning the division. There are way too many veterans on this team right now for this team to lose focus going up against a Jets team that is absolutely terrible. I've been pounding this Jets team for 4 or 5 years now, saying how bad they are, how badly run they are. The organization's horrendous. So, look, beginning of the year, I said the Jets stink, right? They absolutely – I can't stand them because they absolutely just stink. 4-9 is 4-9. It is what it is, right? Losing 6 in a row is just bad in football. It's not even. Look, you could stumble maybe into a victory, but losing 6 in a row that's absolutely terrible. The coach at the end of the year is most likely gone, right? It's not like they have a young guy that's coming this year that they really like. Jamal Adams. He complained about the team this year. They're done. Okay, they want to finish the year. They got a couple games left. They're absolutely done. when I look at this game here, I like Houston to win this game early, right? By halftime, it's going to be done, and ending the game by winning in double digits. I'm laying 6.5 this week and taking the Texans without a doubt. It's going to be an easy win for you.
The Jets, I don't know what their motivation is. I would guess that if they like their coach, Bowles, they're going to play harder for them. But I do like the fact, your point on Houston losing that game against the Colts last week, making this much more of a get-up spot. Deshaun Watson's been playing pretty well, has not been turning the ball over as much as, he's did in previous times, I guess, early in the season and last year before he got injured. I think that the only way I would look at against the spread would probably be Houston, but I don't necessarily think it would be double digits unless it was just at 10. So I do agree with you on that one.
All right, good.
Moving on to my last side play here, and I am going to talk about another game here. I like Green Bay versus Chicago -5.5. I like this game a lot. Now, I really do not understand why the spread went down from +7 to +5.5, because the situations do not match up with the line movement. Most power ratings have the Bears at about 5 to 6 points, right where the line is. And maybe people think that this is a letdown spot for Chicago for beating up on the top team in the NFL last week. Now, letdown spots do not factor in division clinching games. They don't. I'm sorry. This is not a letdown spot. And I do not understand why people would think that. If the Bears win this game, not only do they clinch the division, they clinch a playoff spot, they also knock their rival out of the division, and they get revenge from what happened back in 2013 when Randall Cobb caught that, not to mention 2010, where they could have beat the Packers. Packers get into the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. This is a huge revenge spot. And then if you factor in the revenge from what happened their first game, where they played like the Packers played terrible, the Bears played like the greatest team in the world, then the second half, what the hell happened? Obviously, there's some bad officiating we have to get into. You gotta expect that at away game. But the Bears looked like complete crap. Gave up 24 unanswered points and lost the game against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is a big hero, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's saying the Bears are just the Bears. This is a huge revenge spot. And to add to this, I don't know if you listeners out there hear a lot of interviews, but Akeem Hicks came on and mentioned Aaron Rodgers talking about how the Bears should be a W for them because that's what they do in Chicago. Akeem Hicks went out and said that. He's a leader of this defense in this Bears team. I would be scared shitless if I was anybody on this Packers offense playing this pissed off Bears team. Now, everyone thinks after last week that Mike McCarthy got fired and the Packers are now a better team. That is 100% wrong. Okay? Wrong. Now, the Packers, got the coach fired win past them. They got the coach fired. Me and you both bet the Packers last week because that's what happens. They play out of their minds to try to prove it wasn't them. They got that past them now. But that doesn't stop the fact that they have major personnel issues, they have locker room problems, and none of that has gotten fixed with a win against the terrible Atlanta Falcons, who now have 9 losses and have 0 chance of making the playoffs. Now, when it comes to defensive efficiency, there's no D like the Bears this year. And DVOA, on defense, they are ranked number 1 on Football Outsiders in the entire NFL.
What number? What number?
Number 1.
Oh, one more time?
Come on, my man. Mitch Trubisky.
Yes.
It's easy to talk to a Bear fan about a Bears play. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mitch Trubisky knows that the Bears won in spite of him kind of last week. He knows that. And, and that's just another reason for him to be great this week. I'm going to go with the Angry Bears, laying 5.5. I don't think this game's going to be too close.
Yeah, hey, listen, what's funny is, we're both Bears fans. I think that we are realistic Bear fans, and we bet against them quite a bit these past 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up picking the same exact game, all right? So listen, when I go back 2 weeks ago, Rodgers got what he wanted. Right, he got McCarthy fired. We talk about this, and we've read articles, and we've seen the innuendos going on inside that locker room. Listen, whatever Rodgers wants, he gets, and the Green Bay Packers organization is absolutely all over Rodgers, whatever he wants. He got McCarthy fired, right? Ultimately, Rodgers was the guy running that offense, changing the plays for McCarthy. He wasn't getting along with him, okay? Mm-hmm. So he gets rid of McCarthy. What happens last week, just like you said, they win the game. They didn't win the game. They actually covered the game. They didn't just cover the game. They absolutely destroyed the game, right? But who did they do it against? Against the Atlanta Falcons, right? Who's absolutely horrendous this year. The Atlanta Falcons are 3-10 against the spread. 3-10 against the spread. If I told you at the beginning of the year, hey Kiev, if you can go 10-3 against the spread on one team, would you take it?
Oh,
yes.
God.
If I told you if it was the Falcons, would you take it? You would probably say, yeah, get out of here, go pound sand. Atlanta Falcons 3-10 against the spread. So they go out and they absolutely destroy the Falcons, okay? Look, does Rodgers have a great record against the Bears? 100%. Have the Bears been terrible for years? 100%, okay? Rodgers has playmakers. He could do it. Those playmakers can't jump into the dirt and catch the balls. Rodgers is having a terrible game. Besides week 1 against the Bears in that fourth quarter where it's a brand new coach, brand new defense. Khalil Mack didn't play for 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. Look, it's a different defense that he's coming up around, okay? When you're giving $35 million to one guy, Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, it's very difficult to fill that out. So ultimately, he's got to play with what he has, right? So do I expect Rodgers, who I think is a very good quarterback, no disrespect, is he going to be ready for the game this weekend? 100%. Do I expect him to play well? 100%. But what can you say about the Bears? Just like you mentioned before, the Bears defense is in another world right now. Look, there's been stats thrown out there. I don't look at those type of stats, right? They're saying they're probably playing the best defense, the top 8 defense of all time. I kind of throw that out the window and I just say, okay, whatever, sure. But every single week, this team makes plays. Defensive line, linebackers, defensive backs, they're all making plays. They destroyed a Rams team last week. Destroyed them. Absolutely killed them, like you mentioned before. Look, if you love defense, this Bears team is what you like to watch. They don't make stupid plays, okay? There's no stupid penalties, and they don't play dirty. They're not giving those Dominican Sue hits at the end. They play solid every single play. I think, ultimately, all their fourth quarter woes that they've had all year long, that they started playing defense that they weren't playing in quarters 1, 2, and 3 is ultimately going away, and it's changing, okay? This defense is playing quarters 1 to 4. It's going to be solid again this weekend. Here's my concern. I like Mitch. I love Mitch. I love Trubisky, okay? He's still young, right? He didn't play a lot of games in college, so he's still very young. He's still learning to play in the NFL. Look, last week he played terrible. Probably the worst game he's ever played. Statistically, it was horrendous. So, look, I'm going to look at 3 things here, right? So, A, is probably Russ for not playing 2 weeks. I think really he was overhyped playing in a Sunday night game